You're an inspiration to our entire organization.
Welcome to the Gym Marketing Made Simple podcast. We're going to be talking the done-for-you marketing and sales strategies proven to work with boutique fitness gyms to increase quality lead flow and grow your revenue. Don't try to be a professional marketer and waste tons of money. Let the experts at Lasso do it for you. And now, here are your hosts, Blake Ruff and Sherman Merricks.
Hey, what's going on, you guys? So wanted to hop on today, and topic of conversation is, again, you hear us in this theme recently of like where we disagree with mentorship companies. And I think one of the things that we don't talk about is what's the cost of giving bad advice, because there's real consequences to it in terms of like if the assumptions that you have aren't true and you're giving out advice, what are the real consequences to a gym owner? Because again, depending on who you talk to, you're hearing all sorts of stuff in terms of on our side, like what lead to conversion looks like. And how I want to have this conversation is talk about it differently. And the math is very, very simple. The assumptions that go into the math is where we have disagreement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen here real quick. And I'm going to have the conversation around like, okay, let's just take a very, very average, simple scenario. And let's talk about what the cost is if we get the assumption wrong. So if we look at a gym where the total members is 125 members, which if you look at the state of the industry put out by Two Brain Business, this is a very average gym. Let's say our churn rate is already excellent. It's at 4%. So it is landing somewhere between 3 and 5%, which is what we typically say is like, look, if you're landing there, is there always room for improvement? There are, but at the same time, getting better at churn and not focusing on the acquisition side of things is probably not the thing that I need you to focus on. They're not mutually exclusive. You can focus on both at the same time, but just saying, hey, I'm going to put all my effort into getting better at reducing churn and not focusing on acquisition, you are missing the bigger picture of what's actually going to move your business forward. And let's say we're trying to get to a goal of +3 members per month, which I love. If I can get you to +3 to 5 members every single month, that is excellent, sustainable growth. That's like over the course of 2 years, you're going to have a completely different business. And if you can stay there for the long term, you are going to be in a good place long term if you can repeat that type of output every single month, okay? Some months we're going to do a little bit better. Some months we're going to do a little bit worse. There's obviously seasonality to it, but on average, if we can add 36 to 60 new members every single year, that's really, really good. Now, here's where we have disagreement. So depending on what mentorship company you talk to, this lead need is where we're having – that's where we need to have this discussion. Still waiting on my invite from Best Hour to have this discussion. Still waiting on the invite's out there if you guys want to have this. If you listen to their stuff, they're putting out numbers of 50% lead to conversion. Do not know where the data is to back this up. Have absolutely no clue where they're pulling this from. Would love to see it. And I would love to see it across a large data set over a long period of time. If you are cherry picking your 5 best gyms, that is not a way to give advice at all, okay? You need to be looking at what's the 60% in the middle of your normal distribution. Like that's the expectation of someone following their advice is going to have. What does their outcomes look like, okay? Now, if we assume a 50% lead to conversion, it is true you only need 16 leads. Now, according to the state of the industry, the median amount of leads that a gym generates every single month is 13. So we're not even at 16 yet, but let's just say, hey, we're close to it. Okay. So if I was selling you a mentorship company, I would say, yeah. Like churn's the problem. Coaching is the problem. You got more than enough leads. Like you're knocking on that door. You just got to get better at coaching and reduce churn. And that's how we're going to grow this thing. Here's the problem. Okay. If this 50% is inaccurate, and I'll show you what the cost of that is as we get into it, then this whole model of what's actually going to grow your gym is not going to work, okay? If you talk to Two Brain Business, you're typically seeing conversions numbers more in the low 30s, which if you're doing mainly organic, like referrals, organic, website leads, this is a little bit more realistic. And then even if you get into like the Mark Fisher Fitnesses, he says the top end is 25%. We like to aim for 20% across all of our channels. If you're running like a straight to group free trial, this is where you're going to live primarily, is at that 15%. This is just based on data. This is like Evan Lindsay from Metabolic, who owns 3 studios. This is what we've seen across most of our top performing gyms. This is what Mark Fisher is talking about. Then you got Two Brain, and then you got these numbers that are like, I have no idea where this is getting pulled from. But more importantly, if the lead to conversion percentage goes down, the amount of leads that you need goes up. And if you're wrong on the advice that you're giving, how much does that actually cost you? So if we are following, let's just say we subscribe to Two Brain and we just say, hey, we want to grow by a net 3-ish members every single month, and we already have a healthy churn rate, right? We actually need 23 leads. And if you think about it, that just means we're going to break even every single month. If we're only generating 16 leads and closing at what Two Brain says, we're not growing. Okay. What we typically see at this stage. If you're starting to run paid ads, and you're increasing the amount of leads, and the percentage of lead to conversion starts to go down, you're typically going to need somewhere between 32 to 50 leads in order to do that successfully. Now, again, if we're just saying we only need 16 leads because I did this calculator from these guys and it says like my lead needs only 16, but then I only end up converting at 20 to 25%, I'm actually losing 1 to 2 members every single month. I'm actually now moving backwards. That's the cost of giving bad advice. So like where I get passionate about this is that if this assumption, this 50% is wrong, my clients are losing money. Not because they don't have a good churn rate, not because they're not good at coaching. It's because the advice that they're getting at the amount of leads it takes to move their business forward is fundamentally flawed. So if you're finding yourself not converting at 50%, I understand, because I've never seen that before across a large data set. And if you're more along the lines of here and you're not generating enough leads to move the business forward and your churn rate is between 3 and 5%, you have a lead problem. I am not trying to sell you a bridge to nowhere. I'm fundamentally telling you this is a lead problem. This has nothing to do with churn and coaching. Okay. Now, if I'm here and I do assume this 50% absurd number that is fictional, right? Okay. Yeah, I would say, yeah, you don't have a lead problem, but I'm going to sell you this mentorship company that's going to talk about churn and coaching, because that's where we can make up the difference. We could take your 4% down to 3.5% and 3%, right? That's where I get passionate about this stuff, guys. If you're wrong about this, it's going to cost you money. Okay. Maybe not even necessarily hard dollars, but how we just move sideways, it's going to cost you in time. Okay. So if you're going to put out this kind of recommendation or advice, you better have the data to back it up. And if I get a hint that it is, these are what the 5 or 6 best performing gyms we have in our data set are doing, you are being reckless with people's businesses. Just want to get on here and say that, you guys, this is simple math, but if this is wrong, this is what it costs you for listening to bad advice. So if you are listening to this, I urge you to have them show you the data. And if it is anything less than 100 gyms in their data set, I need you to push back and say you are cherry picking maybe some of the best performing gyms that are out in the middle of nowhere that don't have any competition. Very likely that that's happening. Okay. And with that, you guys have a good rest of your day.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to the Gym Marketing Made Simple podcast with Blake Ruff and Sherman Merricks. We hope you enjoyed. We believe marketing should increase revenue and not waste money. So book your free call today. Head on over to lassoframework.com. That's lassoframework.com and find the right words, get more customers, and increase your revenue. We'll see you here next time.